From classically creepy mansions whose weathered rooms are filled with history and all manner of ghostly activity, to prominent hotels where it's rumored the spirits of guests long since deceased still roam after dark. Are you ready to explore our second list of picks for some of the most chillingly haunted places in Georgia? Number 5. The Bonaventure Cemetery. The Bonaventure Cemetery, located on a scenic bluff overlooking the Wilmington River just off of Bonaventure Road out of Thunderbolt, Georgia, is a burying grounds that, at 160 acres, is renowned as the city's largest municipal graveyard, and it's famous for its featuring both in the 1994 John Burrant novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil and in the 1997 Clint Eastwood film adaptation. Historically, the Bonaventure Cemetery is located on the former grounds of the Bonaventure Plantation, which was initially owned in 1762 by Colonel John Mulrine, before being later passed on to his daughter and her husband, Mary and John Tatnall Sr. In 1846, the old property was sold to Peter Wiltberger. In 1850, Wiltberger would utilize a segment of the old yard for his own burial grounds, and in 1853, following his passing, Peter himself would be entombed in a family vault on site. In 1868, Peter's son, Major William H. Wiltberger, would establish the Evergreen Cemetery Company. In 1907, this company would be purchased under the city of Savannah, resulting in the yard opening as a public space and in its re-establishment as Bonaventure Cemetery. In 1918, a caretaker's residence was constructed, and in 1933, the city would go on to purchase the site of the Greenwich Plantation, which was subsequently added to cemetery grounds. Bonaventure Cemetery remains open to the public and still offers burial services, though its limited lot space is filling quickly. The most famous ghost story surrounding Bonaventure tells of one little Gracie Watson, who died of pneumonia at just 6 years of age in 1889, resulting in her burial within the cemetery. At Gracie's gravesite now sits a statue that was carved in memorial, and at its base, some place coins, toys, and trinkets as tributes. Many nearing her plot have reported cold spots or instances in which tears of blood are seen streaking from the statue's eyes, and Gracie's full-bodied manifestation has actually been encountered around Johnson Square in Savannah, where her parents manage the since-demolished Pulaski Hotel. Also reported across the Bonaventure Cemetery are accounts of other statues or busts grimacing or smiling at those who pass them, disembodied giggles heard near infants' graves, and encounters with a phantom pack of snarling dogs that is always heard at a distance but never actually seen. Number 4. The Old Governor's Mansion. The Old Governor's Mansion, located off of South Clark Street on the campus of the Georgia College and State University in Milledgeville, Georgia, is a historic abode turned educational venue that's recognized as an accredited museum of the American Alliance of Museums, and that, in 2015, was actually honored as an affiliate of the Smithsonian Institution. Historically, this prestigious estate was first constructed in 1839 as one of the finest examples of Greek Revival architecture in the American South, and from its erection until 1868, it would house 8 governors and their families. Following the loss of the capital, the weathered mansion would be utilized as a boarding house from 1868 until 1879, when the state would loan it to the freshly established Georgia Military and Agricultural College, and then to the Georgia Normal and Industrial College, which is now actually the Georgia College and State University. For a time, the mansion would serve as the school's first dorm, which hosted a presidential apartment on its second floor, and in 1967, the institution would begin offering tours of its ground floor. Through the early 2000s, this aged residence would welcome a number of restorations which would see it return to its original 1851 appearance, after which it would be opened as a house museum dedicated to the interpretation of the history of the property and of those parties connected to it. In the present, the Old Governor's Mansion remains open to the public, offering a range of educational materials pertaining to the building, its occupants, and to antebellum society across the state. Rather classically, the Old Governor's coroner's mansion is believed to be haunted by the spirits of those who resided or worked within over its extensive existence, and into recent times, those frequenting its bounds have reported objects sighted moving on their own or even floating in midair, phantom wafts of cigar smoke, and instances in which linens are literally thrown from beds by an unseen force. The most famous presence documented across the property is that of Molly, a former cook, whose spirit has been known to bring with her the smells of blueberry muffins, of pork, and of black-eyed peas, all of which were her specialties in life. And on one occasion, the scent of burning potatoes became so strong, it actually resulted in a call to the fire department, who arrived to find the building completely clear. Number 3. Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, located off of Kennesaw Mountain Drive in Kennesaw, Georgia, is a preserved 2,923-acre Civil War battlefield that's segment in front of the Visitor Center, its grounds off Burnt Hickory Road, and its major Cheatham Hill site, commonly referred to as the Dead Angle, played witness to some of the most brutal conflict of the Atlanta campaign. Historically, from 900 to 1700 CE, the Kennesaw Mountain region would play home to the mound builders. Later, their descendants, the Creek people, were pushed out of Georgia by the Cherokee, and through the Georgia Gold Rush in the early 19th century, the Cherokee would in turn be exiled on the Trail of Tears. From June 18th to July 2nd of 1864, the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain would be fought between Union General William Tecumseh Sherman's 100,000 men, 254 cannons, and 35,000 cavalry, and Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston's 50,000 men and 187 cannons, and would result in around 5,350 casualties and in a surprising Confederate victory. In 1917, the expanse was designated as the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Site. In 1933, it was transferred to the War Department, and in 1935, it was redesignated as a National Battlefield Park instead. Kennesaw Mountain remains open into the present, offering an interpretive center, a museum, self-guided tours, and a road to the top of the mountain that's open on weekdays to standard traffic and on weekends to park buses alone. Not surprisingly, the whole of Kennesaw is rumored to be soaked in both blood and chilling supernatural scars resulting from the battle held so long ago, and both officials and park-goers over the years have reported the phantom sounds of cannon and musket fire, the gag-inducing smells of blood, burning flesh and gunpowder, and extreme cold spots and sudden winds that pick up out of nowhere. Orbs and half-formed silhouettes are captured often in photography. Many have told of the constant feelings of being watched or followed by something unseen, and a range of stories detail spine-tingling encounters with ghostly soldiers, some of whom complain over their loss or brag about their win, and others bearing grievous injuries. A number of visitors driving the roads cutting through the battlefield have reported feeling an inexplicable feeling of dread, as well as run-ins with a Union cavalry officer in full uniform who rides alongside vehicles in transit while holding his saber aloft. Lastly, many living near the battlefield have told of doors that open and close on their own, of lights that flicker without cause, of disembodied voices and bootsteps, and of disturbing instances in which they round corners to find the full-bodied apparitions of soldiers standing right within their homes. Number 2. The Windsor Hotel. The Windsor Hotel, or officially the Best Western Plus Windsor Hotel, and located off of West Lamar Street in Americus, Georgia, is a historic lodging recognized for its hosting of such notable figures as John L. Sullivan, Congressman William Jennings Bryan, James Carter, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and more. Historically, development of the property and construction of the Windsor would run from 1888 to 1891, after which it would open on June 16th of 1892 as a 5-story, 100-room Victorian-style structure boasting towers, balconies, and a 3-story open-air atrium, all intended to appeal to winter visitors from the north. Impressively, thousands would attend the hotel's grand opening, with well over 100 guests checking in the first day, and a grand ball held until after midnight within the 5th floor ballroom. In 1899, one Charles A. Fricker would make purchase of the Windsor. Through September of 1910, the site would be completely renovated and modernized, welcoming the addition of lights, new elevators, telephones, and steam heat. And through the 1930s, the establishment was sold to Howard Dayton, who would manage operations until its closure in 1974. In 1978, the property was donated to the city, after which it would sit unused until 1990, when a slew of renovation projects were launched. In 1991, the Windsor would reopen its doors, and most recently, in 2020, it would welcome another slew of renovations. The Windsor remains open into the present, offering the Rosemary and Thyme restaurant, Floyd's Pub, a gym, meeting space and event facilities, and more, alongside its ridiculously comfortable accommodations. Through its lifespan, a number of witness accounts detailing extreme paranormal activity on Windsor grounds, suspectedly tied to its many past guests and to those who love the site in life, have surfaced, with staff and visitors reporting objects sighted moving on their own, lights that flicker or turn on and off by themselves, and disembodied voices from empty spaces. One popular and disturbing legend tells that through the early 20th century, a housekeeper by the name of Emily May was arguing with her lover in a hallway on the Windsor's 3rd floor, while holding her daughter in her arms and attempting to shield the child from the confrontation. In a fit of rage, it's told her lover pushed Emily into a nearby elevator port, but that unfortunately, there was no elevator present, resulting in the woman and her daughter falling 3 stories to their deaths. Incidentally, the 3rd floor is believed to be the most active area on the premises, with those frequenting it telling of extreme cold spots, of doors that open and close on their own, and of the phantom giggles of a little girl heard through the hall, as well as glimpses in reflective surfaces of a woman in black, believed to be the specter of Emily. Also reported across the whole of the hotel are accounts of pots and pans flying around the kitchen, instances in which televisions change channels or seemingly act on their own accords, and disembodied footsteps from empty spaces. Lastly, the ghost of one Floyd Adrell Lowry, who worked as a bellman at the Windsor for nearly half a century preceding his passing in 1982, has been sighted at Floyd's Bar, which was named in his honor, and has even been known to assist unsuspecting guests in need. Number 1. The Old Pink House. The Old Pink House, located off of Abercorn Street in Savannah, Georgia, is a southern restaurant harbored within a colonial mansion that's recognized for its incredible architecture and decor, as well as for being easily one of the finest of dining establishments in the city. Historically, what was originally recognized as the Habersham House was first built from 1771 to 1789 for owner James Habersham Jr., a prominent cotton factor and member of one of Savannah's founding families. Habersham would reside on site until his passing in 1799, and in 1812, the abode would be transformed into the first bank in Georgia, Planters Bank. Following the Civil War, the property would change hands a number of times, and would act as an attorney's office, as a bookstore, and even as a tea room. In 1970, it would be purchased by Herschel McCollar Jr. and his partner Jeffrey Keith, who would perform numerous renovations, and in 1971, they would establish a restaurant from within. In 1992, 2 years after the death of McCollar, Keith would sell the building to William and Elizabeth Baelish, who would honor restorations and would maintain the building's grandeur. Eventually, the Baelishes would pass the beloved property to their daughter, Donna Mokel, who remains owner to this day, and in a 2006 expansion project, the establishment would welcome Arches Bar on its southern end. The Old Pink House remains open, offering Arches, a cellar tavern called Planters, which features a single-table wine vault for special occasions, and 13 total dining rooms. Over the years, this aged abode has been a conduit for a number of chilling fables, the first of which telling that the whole of its grounds are haunted by none other than James Habersham Jr. himself. While James was officially documented as having died of natural illness, this legend tells that he actually killed himself, either resulting from catching his wife cheating on him or from depression caused in the wake of her death, and that the truth was covered up so that he could still receive a proper burial in the church's graveyard alongside his family. While no evidence supporting these tales has ever actually been uncovered, an apparition matching James's description has been cited about, most often in the basement tavern, where he's been known to order drinks from bar staff, toast with unsuspecting patrons, hold full conversations with the living, and even fix up tablecloths and chairs and light candles. Another commonly encountered apparition on site is that of a Revolutionary War soldier who's been spied at the bar, visibly drunk, and who's also been known to toast with the living, appearing so solid he's often mistaken for an actor by the unsuspecting, before vanishing directly after touching glasses. What are believed to be the ghosts of formerly enslaved children lost to yellow fever or in fires have been encountered in the basement playing dice. Bartenders have reported wine bottles inexplicably thrown dangerously close to their heads, and a number of women using the downstairs restrooms have described finishing up to find the stall doors feel as if someone is holding them shut from the outside, requiring them throw their entire body weight against the slabs in order to escape. Lastly, the apparitions of several former house servants have been cited going about tasks from lives long lost, while the ghost of a mysterious woman has been spied on the second floor, often sobbing into her hands. Taking its fascinating history into account, and coupling it with such a formidable slew of purported paranormal activity and associated local legends, we felt the Old Pink House was the perfect choice as this list's most haunted place in Georgia. Thanks for joining us on our second list of picks for some of the most haunted places in Georgia. If you enjoyed our histories and ghost stories, subscribe to our channel, throw us a like, and share us with anyone you feel could use a good scare. We'll see you next time.